I received a check for $4,800,000 on a rainy Tuesday morning in October. After 15 years of legal battles, the company that killed my father in a workplace accident finally paid what they owed. I was 41 years old, working as a librarian in Portland, Oregon, barely making ends meet with my daughter Emma, who was 12 at the time. My husband Robert worked at an architecture firm downtown. We'd been married for 14 years. I remember standing in our small kitchen, staring at that check, my hands shaking. Emma was at school. I needed to tell Robert. This money would change everything. We could pay off the mortgage, send Emma to college, maybe even retire early someday. I grabbed my keys and my daughter's photo from the counter. I wanted to see the look on his face when I told him. The drive to his office took 20 minutes. I parked in the visitor lot and practically ran through the lobby, clutching my purse where I'd tucked the check. Robert worked on the third floor. The receptionist recognized me and waved me through with a smile. I took the elevator up, my heart pounding with excitement. When I stepped off on the third floor, I heard voices coming from Robert's corner office. The door was slightly ajar. I was about to knock when I heard a woman's laugh. Then I heard my husband's voice, low and intimate in a way I hadn't heard in years. "We can't keep doing this here," the woman said. "What if Margaret shows up?" "She won't," Robert replied. "She's at work. She never leaves the library during the day." I stood frozen in the hallway. My hand holding the check went numb. "When are you going to tell her?" the woman asked. "You keep saying you will, but..." "I'm working on it, Diane. These things take time. I need to make sure I'm protected first. She doesn't contribute anything financially anyway. The house is in my name. The car is in my name. She has nothing." I recognize the voice now. Diane Chen, his assistant, 28 years old. I'd met her at the company Christmas party last year. She'd complimented my dress. I backed away from the door slowly, quietly. My mind was racing, but my body moved on autopilot. I got back in the elevator, drove home, sat in my car in the driveway for an hour, just staring at that check. $4,800,000. Robert thought I had nothing. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. I was 41 years old. I'd spent the last 14 years supporting this man while he built his career. I'd worked part-time so I could take care of Emma. I'd cooked his meals, cleaned his house, entertained his colleagues. I'd believed him when he said we were a team. But I wasn't angry yet. Not the way you might think. I was cold, clear, calculating. I called the bank and asked about their private banking services. They transferred me to a wealth management specialist named Patricia Chen. "No relation to Diane," she assured me with a laugh. I made an appointment for the next morning. Then I called my father's lawyer, the one who'd fought for 15 years to get us that settlement. His name was Thomas Brennan, and he was 63 years old with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Margaret," he said when he heard my voice. "Did you get the check?" "I did," I said. "Tom, I need your help with something else, something personal." I told him what I'd heard. Every word. There was a long pause. Then Tom said, "Don't deposit that check in your joint account. Don't tell Robert about it. Meet me tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bring the check." That night, Robert came home at 7. He kissed me on the cheek like he always did, asked what was for dinner, played with Emma before bedtime, watched TV while I folded laundry. Everything was normal. Everything was a lie. I slept in the same bed with him that night. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. I watched him sleep and thought about the 15 years my father's case had dragged through the courts. Patience had won that battle. Patience would win this one too. The next morning, I told Robert I had a dentist appointment. He barely looked up from his coffee. "Okay," he said. "Will you be home for dinner?" "Of course," I said. Patricia Chen's office was downtown, all glass and steel and quiet money. She was probably 50, impeccably dressed, with the kind of calm confidence that comes from managing other people's fortunes. I showed her the check. "I need this protected," I said. "From my husband." "Oregon is an equitable distribution state," she explained, "but there are ways to structure things. How long have you been married?" 14 years. "And has he contributed to the legal case that resulted in this settlement?" "No. This was my father's case. It started before I even met Robert." Patricia made notes. "That helps. We can argue this is separate property, not marital, But you'll need a good divorce attorney to make it stick. I'm not ready to file yet, I said. She looked at me over her reading glasses. Why not? Because I need to know what else he's hiding first. Patricia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a woman who'd seen this story before. Smart. Let me make some calls. By the end of that first meeting, I had a separate bank account in my name only. The money was deposited and immediately invested in a trust fund with my daughter Emma as the beneficiary and my mother as the trustee. Robert's name was nowhere on any of the paperwork. Patricia connected me with a forensic accountant named David Park and a private investigator named Sarah Mitchell. Tom Brennan, my father's lawyer, agreed to handle the divorce when the time came. But first, he said, we gather evidence. We find out exactly what your husband has been doing. Because if he's planning to leave you, you can bet he's been hiding assets. I went back to work at the library like nothing had changed. I made dinner every night. I helped Emma with her homework. I smiled when Robert came home. And every day, while he was at work, I met with my team. David Park, the forensic accountant, was a thin man in his 50s who wore bow ties and spoke in precise, clipped sentences. He requested access to our joint accounts, credit card statements, tax returns. I gave him everything. I need you to act normally, he said. Don't change your spending patterns. Don't alert him that anything's different. Can you do that? I could. I was very good at being invisible. I'd had 14 years of practice. Sarah Mitchell, the private investigator, was a former cop with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She set up surveillance on Robert's office and his usual routes. She photographed him and Diane leaving together for long lunches. She documented the times they went to a hotel downtown. She recorded their conversations when possible. How long has this been going on? I asked her after the first week. At least 8 months, Sarah said. Based on credit card records, he's been taking her to expensive restaurants, buying her gifts, all charged to your joint credit card. I looked at the receipts she showed me. Dinners that cost more than our grocery budget for a month. Jewelry I'd never seen. A weekend trip to Seattle he'd told me was a work conference. There's more, Sarah said. He's been meeting with a divorce attorney, guy named Bruce Hampton, very aggressive, very expensive, specializes in protecting high net worth individuals in divorces. My blood ran cold. When did he start meeting with this attorney? 3 months ago. 3 months before my settlement came through. He couldn't have known about the money, could he? David Park answered that question the following week. Your husband has been systematically moving money out of your joint accounts for the past 6 months, he said, showing me spreadsheets and bank records, small amounts, so you wouldn't notice. He's got about $48,000 in an account you don't know about. He's also been underreporting his income on your joint tax returns. He makes about $60,000 more a year than he's been telling you. I sat in David's office, looking at the evidence of my husband's betrayal, and I felt something break open inside me. Not my heart. That had gone cold weeks ago. It was something else. A dam! Maybe. And behind it was 15 years of making myself smaller, quieter, less. What else? I asked. He's been meeting with a real estate agent, David said. Looking at condos. Downtown. For one person. He was planning to leave me with nothing. He'd been planning it for months. And he thought I was too stupid, too dependent, too weak to see it coming. I went home that night and made Robert's favorite dinner, pot roast with roasted vegetables. I set the table with our good dishes. I poured him wine. Emma was at a friend's house for a sleepover. This is nice, Robert said, smiling at me. What's the occasion? No occasion, I said. I just wanted to do something special for you. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're a good wife, Maggie. I squeezed back. I try to be. After dinner, he went to watch TV. I cleaned up the kitchen, and I thought about my father, who'd worked for 30 years at a construction company that cut corners on safety to save money. I thought about the scaffold that had collapsed, killing him and 2 other men. I thought about my mother, sitting through 15 years of depositions and court dates and appeals. I thought about the way the company's lawyers had tried to blame my father for his own death. Patience had won that battle. I could be patient too. Over the next 3 months, I built my case. Sarah documented every meeting between Robert and Diane, every hotel visit, every intimate lunch. David traced every dollar Robert had hidden. We found 2 more secret accounts. We found gifts he'd bought for Diane using company expense accounts, which was fraud. We found emails between Robert and his lawyer discussing how to minimize exposure in the divorce and how to claim that my settlement money should be considered marital property. He's going to argue that he supported you while your father's case was pending, Tom Brennan explained. He'll say he enabled you to pursue the settlement, so he deserves a share. Can he win that argument? Not with what we have. The settlement was for your father's death. It started before you married. You're the sole heir. Oregon law is clear. But he'll try. What about his hidden income? The fraud? Tom smiled. That's where this gets interesting. If he's been underreporting income on your joint tax returns, you could both be liable. But if you can prove you didn't know about it, you can claim innocent spouse relief. And we can. What does that mean for him? It means the IRS is going to be very interested in Robert's creative accounting. It also means he's going to prison if they find what I think they'll find. I should have felt something. Guilt, maybe. Regret. But all I felt was cold satisfaction. In January, 4 months after I'd overheard that conversation in Robert's office, I filed for divorce. I did it on a Thursday morning while Robert was at work. Tom Brennan personally served him with the papers at his office at 2 p.m. Robert came home at 5:30. His face was white. "Maggie, what the hell is this?" "Divorce papers," I said calmly. I was folding laundry. Emma was upstairs doing homework. "I don't understand. Where is this coming from?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. He was a decent-looking man, tall, graying at the temples, always well-dressed. I'd loved him once. I'd believed in him. "October 12th, I said. "I came to your office to tell you something important. I heard you with Diane. I heard everything." The color drained completely from his face. "Maggie, I can explain." "I don't want explanations," I said. "I want a divorce. You'll be hearing from my attorney." "Your attorney?" "What attorney?" "We can't afford." "I can," I said. "You're not the only one who's been planning, Robert." That's when I saw fear flicker across his face. Real fear. The divorce took 8 months. Robert fought every step of the way. He claimed he deserved half of my settlement because he'd supported me through the legal case. His lawyer argued that I'd been enriched during the marriage and he was entitled to compensation. Tom Brennan destroyed every argument. We proved the settlement was separate property. We proved Robert had hidden income and assets. We proved he'd committed fraud on our joint tax returns. We proved he'd been planning to divorce me and leave me with nothing. And then we did something Robert never saw coming. We turned over all the evidence of his tax fraud to the IRS. In June, Robert was indicted on 3 counts of tax evasion and 1 count of fraud. His architecture firm fired him. Diane broke up with him. He couldn't afford his fancy divorce lawyer anymore and had to use a public defender. The judge in our divorce case was a woman in her 60s named Judge Linda Morrison. She'd been on the bench for 30 years. She looked at the evidence, looked at Robert, and shook her head. "Mr. Sullivan," she said, "you systematically attempted to defraud your wife and the United States government. You planned to leave her destitute while enriching yourself. I find your behavior reprehensible." She awarded me full custody of Emma. She awarded me the house, the cars, and my entire settlement, untouched. She ordered Robert to pay me $15,000 in attorney's fees. He had $48,000 in his secret account. Between my fees and his own legal costs, he'd have almost nothing left, and he was facing prison time. I felt nothing watching him sign the papers. No triumph, no satisfaction, just exhaustion. The criminal case took another year. Robert was convicted on 2 counts of tax evasion. He was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $180,000 in back taxes, penalties, and fines. I visited him once in prison. Emma didn't want to see him, and I didn't force her. She was 14 by then, old enough to understand what he'd tried to do to us. Robert looked small in his prison uniform, smaller than I'd ever seen him. "Why did you come?" he asked. "To make sure you understand," I said. "You thought I was nothing. You thought I contributed nothing. You thought you could throw me away and take everything." "I'm sorry," he said. "Maggie, I'm so sorry. I was stupid. I was greedy. Tin. You were caught, I interrupted. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. He looked down at his hands. I want you to know something, I said. That money you tried to take from me, I'm using it to help other women. Women like I used to be, women who think they're trapped, women who think they have nothing. I'd established the Margaret Sullivan Foundation 6 months earlier. We provided legal aid, financial counseling, and emergency support for women leaving abusive or financially controlling marriages. We'd already helped 43 women get divorced and get back on their feet. Emma starts college next year, I continued. She got a full scholarship to Reed College. She wants to study law. She says she wants to help people the way Tom Brennan helped us. Robert's eyes filled with tears. Can I write to her? That's up to her, I said, but I wouldn't count on it. I stood up to leave. Maggie, he said, I really did love you once. I looked back at him. Maybe you did, I said, but you loved money more, and you loved yourself most of all. That was the last time I saw Robert Sullivan. He served 2.5 years and was released on parole. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he moved to California and got a job drafting blueprints for a small construction company. He never tried to contact Emma. She's 34 now, a partner at a law firm in Seattle, married to a kind man who teaches high school English. They have 2 daughters. I'm 63 years old. I still run the foundation, though I'm training someone to take over. We've helped over 1,500 women in the past 22 years. We've recovered over $30 million in hidden assets. We've put 18 men in prison for fraud. Every single one of them thought their wives had nothing. They were all wrong. The money my father died for didn't just secure my future, it secured the futures of hundreds of women who thought they were trapped. It gave them what I'd found on that rainy Tuesday morning, the power to fight back. I keep a picture on my desk. It's me, Emma, and my mother on the day the foundation opened. We're standing in front of a small office building in downtown Portland. We're smiling. Behind us, you can see the sign, the Margaret Sullivan Foundation for Women's Financial Independence. My father would have been proud. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how things turned out, if I wish I'd tried to save my marriage, if I think I was too harsh on Robert. I tell them the truth. I regret nothing. That day in October, standing outside Robert's office, I had a choice. I could have walked in and confronted him. I could have screamed and cried and begged him to love me. I could have let him take everything. Instead, I chose patience. I chose strategy. I chose to value myself even when he didn't. And that choice didn't just save me. It saved my daughter. It saved 1,500 other women. Robert didn't take anything from me that day. But I took something from him. The power to make me feel worthless. And that, more than any amount of money, is what truly set me free.